everybody should have their grammar notebook open to a new clean page. Make sure that you are listening and following along so that you don't get behind. The title, we're still talking about verb tense. Remember, verb tense tells us when the action happened or when the verb happened. But instead, last week we talked mostly about present tense, or I'm sorry, not last week, on Monday, we talked about present tense. Colin, don't worry about it. Today, we will be talking about past and future tense. Now, we talked a little bit about those on Monday, so this is not going to be brand new information. But it's going to be more information. So we already know verb tense tells us when an action happened. We know there are 3 basic verb tenses. What are those 3 basic verb tenses? Mason, your hand went up so fast. Tell me all 3 of them.
Past, present, future.
Past, present, future. We talked about present tense. When is a present tense verb happening? Aaron? Now. There are 2 ways that we can show that a verb is in the present tense. We can either add an S or not, an ESS or nothing to the verb. Remember, if the subject is plural, that means there's more than one subject, what do we do to the verb? If the subject is plural, if we have a plural subject, what are we going to do to the verb? I guess Mason's the only one in grammar today. Yes, Mason, we'll just have a one-on-one lesson. We'll work really closely together, and you'll be doing great. We're talking about with S's. I can see why you thought that, but with S's, if we have a plural subject, what do we do to the verb? Do we add S? Do we add ES? Do we add nothing? Smith?
We add nothing.
We add nothing. The dogs bark. Smith, who is the sentence about? Who or what is the sentence about?
The dogs.
The dogs. Is that singular or plural?
Plural.
Plural. What's our verb?
Bark.
Bark. If the subject is plural, you do not add anything to the verb. What about if the subject is singular? What do you do to the verb? Zadie.
Add S or ES.
Add S or ES. Bark. What would we do to bark, Zadie? We wanted to say the dog barked. What would we add to it?
You add
S. Why would we not add ES? What verbs do we add ES to? Carla?
E, U, and O.
Nope. I don't know where you got those letters. That doesn't make sense. What verbs do we add ES to? Colin?
Singular subject.
So that would mean I'd have to add ES to this. Mason?
Plural subject.
That would mean I'd have to add ES to this. Is this a guess or do you know the answer? Kingston?
Very good now that I know. CH, SH, X, and O.
Verbs that end in CH, SH, X, Z. Michaela?
Y.
Nope. Kingston? S-C-H-S-H-X or Z. How did you know that? How did you know that, Kingston? What lesson did you look at? Singular and plural nouns. Because what did I say about when we add S's to verbs? What rules did I say that they followed? Singular and plural noun. So if it ends in Y, what are we going to add? If the verb ends in Y, in consonant Y. Kingston, I guess we'll have a one-on-one lesson today. You make the Y-I and add ES. What if it ends in vowel Y, Kingston? And do what? I keep the Y the same and then do what? Do I add ES? And I add S. Thank you, Kingston. We'll just have a one-on-one lesson today. Okay. Kingston, what about if I wanted to use is? A form of be. What would I do here? Would I say the dog's be barking? The dogs are barking. So if I have a plural subject, do I use is or are, Kingston? I have a plural subject. I know I'm talking about more than one dog. So do I use is, are, or am? I have a plural subject. Do I use is, are, or am? Are. And then what do I do to the verb? Add ing. What if I have a singular subject and I want to add a form of be and then ing? So if I have a singular subject, what do I add? Is. What if I have I or you and I'm not adding a form of be? What do I do? What do I do to the verb? Say my verb is yell. Kingston. Add nothing. What if I want to use a form of be? And I have I. Smith.
I am yelling.
I am yelling. What if I have you and I want to add a form of be? Colin?
You are yelling.
We did this on Monday. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier this morning. Okay, so there's our quick review. Now let's talk about past and future tense. Okay. So first, past tense means that the action already happened. Past tense means the action already happened. Now, unlike present tense, there's only one way to do this. We do have some verbs that are weird. We'll talk about them in a few weeks. But the one good thing is, for most verbs, there's only one thing that we do. To make a verb past tense, with most verbs, not every single one, because like I keep saying, there are some weird ones. We did see some weird ones on Monday, like sit and keep and sleep and do you remember another one? Do you remember the other one?
No, I was going to say
Hop, which was mostly normal. We just had to do a little extra. But there are some weird ones. We'll talk about those in a few weeks. But for most verbs, to make a verb past tense, add the letters ed. To make a verb past tense, you add ed. Now, not every single one. Like we wouldn't say, don't write this. We wouldn't say sleeped. So that's a weird one. You'll usually be able to tell that it's a weird one because would you ever say I sleeped over at my friend's house last night? Or should you say I sleeped over at my friend's house last night? No, we know it's slept. But most verbs, we can say the dog barked. So we know that ed at the end tells us when did it happen. Carla.
that it happened now.
Victoria.
That it happened in the past.
It happened in the past. Carla, look at what we're working on right now. What about if we have a plural subject? Do we have to do something different to bark before we add the ed, like we do with present tense? What do you think? Mason?
Yeah.
What do you think we might have to do?
The dog are barking.
Would that say it already happened? If I said the dogs are barking. Does that sound like it already happened? When does that sound like it happened? The dogs are barking. Right now. Would that be past tense? What would that be? If it's happening right now, what tense would it be? Present. So, for plural subjects, do you have to do anything other than add ed? What do you think? Kingston?
No. Still have to add ed.
Do we have to do anything else, though? No. That's another nice thing about past tense. Doesn't matter if it's a singular or plural subject. You just add ed. And there's only one way to do it unless you have one of those weird ones, which we'll talk about in a few weeks. For past tense verbs, there's only one way to do it. You add ed. Now, the only time you won't add ed is if the verb already ends with the letter E. What do you think? Do you think you have to change it to ed? Do you think you have to add ed? Colin?
No.
No. What do you think you do?
Just add a d.
If the verb already ends with E, just add D. You're not going to change it to ED. It already has the E. You're just adding D. I'm trying to think of an example of a verb that ends in E. I know they're out there. Yes.
And if you add ed, it's going to be very funny how you say it.
Yeah, you would have to say like "ed" at the end. Oh, I have an example sentence. They just paved my street. They just paved my street. Pave, P-A-V-E, means that they put new asphalt down. The base verb is P-A-V-E. We wouldn't add ed because then we'd have to say they paved my street. But that's not how we say it. They paved my street. One more rule, which will not sound brand new to you. the verb ends with a consonant then the letter Y. What do you think? If the verb ends with consonant, that means a letter that's not a vowel, then Y, what do you think is going to happen? Based on what you know about words ending with consonant Y, what do you think happens when we're trying to make a verb past tense that ends with consonant Y? What do you think might happen? Sorry, we started our lesson. You're going to have to watch the beginning of this later today. You're supposed to be here at 12:35. And it's 1 o'clock.
My mom sent you an email. I'm having technical difficulties.
Okay. Well, you'll have to watch this tonight, okay? So if the verb ends with a consonant then a Y, what do you think is going to happen based on what you know about other words that end with consonant then Y? We just talked about this. Come on, guys. Carla.
You will add. It will sound different
Nope.
than it's supposed to sound like.
Aaron?
You will drop the I, add I.
Wait, say that again.
You will get rid of the Y and then add I and
Yes. You're on the right track. And now people are automatically going to know the answer because you already gave them most of it. If a verb ends with a consonant then Y, change Y to an I, then add not ES, that would make it plural. But we're not trying to make nouns plural, we're trying to make verbs past tense. So if the verb ends with a consonant, then a Y, change the Y to an I, then add, Cullen?
ED.
ED. Not ES, but ED. For example, Miss Bolus cried. What's the base verb of that, in that verb? Zari.
Miss Follis.
What's the base verb? Is this a verb? Is Miss Follis in action?
No.
No. So what's the base verb? Please answer my question, the question I'm asking. Victoria. Cry. How do you spell cry? C-R-Y. Cry ends with consonant Y. R is a consonant, Y is Y. So you replace the Y with an I and then add ED. So it's just like plural nouns. It follows the same rules. We know if a noun ends with E, if we're making it plural, do we add ES? We just add S. If a noun ends with consonant then Y, when we make it plural, do we leave the Y and add S? What do we do? If a noun ends with a consonant then Y, what do we do to it to make it plural? Zadie.
Change the Y to an I, then add
Change the Y to an I, then add what? ED? Are you listening to the question I'm asking, or are you just listening to part of it and then guessing what the other part was? I said if I want to take a noun that ends with consonant Y, what do I do to make the noun plural? Smith.
Change the Y to an I and add ES.
Change the Y to an I and add ES. I would not add ED to a noun. I would not say, if I had cherry and I wanted to make more than one, I wouldn't say cherried. I would say cherries. Change the Y to an I, then add ES. Please make sure that you're listening to the question that I am asking. Not tuning in halfway through the question and guessing what the rest was. Okay. So, if the verb ends with one vowel and one consonant, like shop, we double the consonant, add ed. But if it ends with two vowels and one consonant, Cullen, one more time, does that follow the rule?
No.
So, are there any rules we follow? What do you think we do to make this past tense? I scooped ice cream yesterday.
Just add ed.
Just add ed. I scooped ice cream. I scooped ice cream. So if it ends with two vowels and a consonant, it doesn't follow this rule, so all you do is add ed. If it ends with one vowel and one consonant, double the consonant, add ed. Now those are the important rules. You won't really see more than that, at least not in the 4th grade, until we get to irregular verbs, which I'm sorry to tell you, you just have to memorize. It's like irregular plural noun. Some of them you just have to memorize. They don't follow any rules at all, like slept or sat. They don't really follow any rules at all. You just have to know what they are. So does everybody understand past tense verbs? They're a little easier than present tense because there's only one way to make a verb past tense, and that's just add ed. Now sometimes you have to remember to change letters, like if it ends with consonant Y, you have to change that Y to an I before you add ed. You have to watch out for one vowel followed by one consonant, which means you double the consonant, then add ed. You have to watch out. If the verb already ends with E, you're not going to add another E. You're just going to add D. So, let's go ahead and now we're going to look at this part of the guided practice. Can I go ahead and erase this? How much do you have left? Enough to get it really quick or enough to where you probably just need to watch the video tonight?
Wait, I just have.
Please read the first bullet point. Mason, loud and slow. You have a mask on, so you're going to have to yell, especially loud.
A verb with a past tense tells about an action that has already happened.
Good. You sound louder even than without your mask on. We already know that. A verb in the past tense tells about an action that already happened. Read the second bullet point, Carla.
Add ed to most verbs to show past tense.
Add ed to most verbs to show past tense. Not all of them, because there are such things as irregular verbs, which we'll learn about in a few weeks. Read the next bullet point. Zari.
If a verb ends with E, drop the E and add ed.
Now another way of saying that is if a verb ends with E, just add D. We don't have to add that extra drop the E. Just leave the E and only add D. We're not going to have E-E-D. So we'll leave the E at the end of the verb and just add D. Read the next bullet point, Smith.
If a verb ends with a consonant and Y, change Y to I and add ed.
Like the verb cry. R is a consonant, Y is Y. Drop the Y, add I, add ed to make cried. And Cullen, read the last bullet point.
If a verb ends with one vowel and one consonant, double the consonant and add ed.
Like the word shop. It ends with one O and one P. O is a vowel, P is a consonant. So we double the P, the consonant, and add ed to create shopped instead of shoped. Because what happens if you do that, don't write this, is phonics rules beat out past tense verbs. And we know if there is a vowel consonant E, what does that E do to the vowel before the consonant? Phonics rules tell us if a word has vowel consonant E, what does that E do to the vowel before the consonant? Cullen.
Makes the vowel long.
It makes the vowel long. What does long O sound like? What does long O sound like, Michaela? Oh, so we'd have to say choked. And that's not what that word is. That's why you have to double the consonant to cancel out that phonics, the silent E phonics rule. That's why you're doubling the consonant. Now, that doesn't happen every single time, but again, English is always weird like that. There's always irregulars. Irregular plurals, irregular nouns. I better put those on before I start smelling feet. Okay, let's see. So now we're ready to begin. What we're doing, choose a verb for each sentence. Write the verb in the past tense. Ooh. So we're going to be given 2 verbs. So not only are we working on vocabulary because we have to choose the correct verb, but we also have to make it past tense. Victoria, number 1. We blank Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday in January. Which verb fits better, celebrate or irritate? Celebrate, but now we have to make it past tense. Because this already happened. So the base verb, the correct base verb is celebrate. But is that past tense right now? No, so what do we have to do to make it past tense? We just add D. Why are we not adding ED?
Because the E is already there.
Because it already ends in E. So we're going to add D. So now we have what sentence, Victoria?
We celebrated Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday in January.
Good. We celebrated Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday in January. Okay, number 2. People blank home from school for the holiday. Is the correct verb visit or stay? Ethan? Stay. They don't visit home, they stay home. But now we have to make it past tense. So we know the base verb is stay. What do we do to stay to make it past tense? Can't hear you. What do we do with ED? We add ED, but it ends in Y. Why are we not changing the Y to an I? It is past tense. Why are we not changing? Somebody help them out. Why are we not changing Y to I? I thought if a verb ended with Y, we have to change it to I and then add ED. Why are we not changing Y to I here? Aaron? It has to end with a consonant, then Y. And what comes before this consonant, Aaron? What comes before the Y in stay? A vowel, A. So do we follow that rule? If it ends with vowel, then Y? No, because it says if it ends with a consonant, and Y. So it's like with the double vowel, then consonant. We don't add a new consonant. It's just, it doesn't follow that rule. So we just follow the regular rule, add ED. Okay, number 3, the students in our school blank about Dr. King before the holiday. Did they learn or did they earn? I just picked a stick and I forgot who it was. I think it was Aaron. Because I didn't pick your stick when I called you. Yes, it was Aaron. Do we learn or do we earn? For the students, did they earn or learn?
They
Learn. But now we have to make it past tense. So what do we do to learn to make it past tense? We add ED. So read the sentence.
The students in our school learned about Dr. King before the holiday.
Okay. Number 4. Michaela, we blank a program of events about Dr. King. Do we repair or do we prepare? Michaela?
Prepare.
Prepare. But now we need to make it past tense. What do we do to prepare to make it past tense, Michaela?
We add a D.
We add a D. Why are we not adding ED, Michaela?
Because prepared already has an E at the end.
It already has an E at the end. And if we added another E, we'd have to read it prepared. And how do we read this sentence, Michaela?
We prepared a program of events about Dr. King.
Good. Number 5. Today my class blank a play about his childhood. Is it perform or inform? Victoria. Hold on, you already got to do one of these. I mean, normally I would just call you again if it was reading, but since we're doing... Zari, did you get to do one yet? Okay, Zari. Is the correct verb perform or inform?
Perform.
Perform. How do we make perform past tense?
We add ed.
We add ed. So now read that sentence, Zari.
Today my class performed a play about his childhood.
Good. Okay, number 6. James blank the lead in the show. Zadie, have you gotten to do one of these yet? Okay, Zadie. Is it play or place? Can't hear you.
Play.
Play. How do we make play past tense?
You add ed.
We add ed. Why are we not changing the y to an I, though?
Because a consonant does not come before the vowel.
What does come before the y?
A vowel.
A vowel. So if a vowel comes before the y, we just treat it like a regular verb. It's like the plural nouns were like that too. If a noun ended with consonant y, we changed the y to an I, then added es. But if a noun ended with a vowel, then y, we just added s. Okay, oh, Michaela, you already got to do one of these. Number 7, he blanked his lines before going on stage. Kingston, did he prevent or did he practice? Practice. How do we make practice past tense? Added D. Why are we not adding ed? What? There's already an E. And if we added ed, we'd have to read it, he practiced. But how do we read it? Read the whole sentence.
He practiced his lines before going on stage.
Okay, number 8. Helen, did you get to do one of these?
I have not.
Okay, he blanked his Aunt Betty to come to the play. Sag or beg?
Beg.
Beg. But now we have to make it past tense. How do we make it past tense?
By adding ed. Oh, adding another G, then ed.
Adding another G, so doubling the G, and then adding ed. Why did we do that?
Because it wouldn't make sense if we just added ed.
Okay, but what if we didn't know? What if we were like, that looks good to me? What tells us, no matter what, we have to do what you did?
Because there's a vowel before a consonant.
And then, is there anything else? Beg ends with one vowel, then one consonant. If a verb ends with one vowel, then one consonant, what do we have to do?
Add double the consonant, then add ed.
Double the consonant, then add ed. Number 9, our teacher, Mrs. Clark, blank us good luck before the play started. Smith, did you get to do one of these yet?
No.
Okay. Is it wish or wash?
Wish.
Wish. And what do we do to make wish past tense?
We add ed.
We add ed. So what does the sentence say now?
Our teacher, Mrs. Clark, wished us good luck before the play started.
Is there anybody who has not gotten to do one of these yet? Okay, Carla. Because I know that there should only be one person left and I have like 5 sticks. So, Carla, we all blank our best to make the show a success. Is it cry or try?
Try.
Try. But now we have to make it past tense. How do we make try past tense?
We take the Y, add it to I, and add ES.
ES? Is that what it says to do up here? ED. We change the Y to I and add ED. So Carla, what does the sentence say?
The sentence says, we all tried our best to make the show a success.
Okay, so we don't have time. Good. We don't have time to finish our grammar lesson because we need to do our science test. So I will decide what that means. For now, just put your guided practice in your grammar side of your writer's workshop. I may have you take it out because I may look at the homework and decide you can do it anyway, or maybe you can do like one side of the homework. I don't know, I have to decide. But for now, put it in the grammar side of writer's workshop. And then clear your desk. Well, actually, you can get out science book and notebook. Kingston, you'll take your science book and notebook out in the hall with your iPad. Because you're gonna do yesterday's lesson.